And so welcome back to the 365 Driven podcast. Today I've got a good friend, Alex Spinoso. He's a doctor, and I've gotten to know him over the last 8 years or so. We're both OGs in the Arete Syndicate. I think around 2018, 19, we kind of met for the first time and did all those things. And I've got to watch him build this entrepreneurial journey from, I believe, working as a prison medical doctor and then, going and betting everything in the house to go do things. And I definitely going to share that story with you guys. But Alex, he's going to talk today about the TRT and the peptides and all these things that you guys hear about all the time. We're going to get into some real truth behind that because he's an expert in that field. But Alex, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Tony. As always, I see you blowing it up. I was waiting for my invite to the 365 Driven podcast. I seen you. You've interviewed legends in the world, so I'm excited.
Appreciate that. You are a legend as well, my friend. So it's
I'm working on it. Not there yet.
Long overdue, but it's
Day
going
one.
to be the conversations just get better when you wait longer, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We have more to talk about.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I see you got a skateboard on the back wall there. So props to you because I've got a couple here on my wall too.
I know you skate. Well, the only difference between us is that if I tried to skate, I'd be breaking an ankle or wrists or something like that. I don't skate. I just thought this was a great piece by Randall Pitch. So that's why I bought it.
Nice. Yeah, I've got one of Andy's skateboards from with the buffalo on it. And
Yep.
I was actually one of the only ones that rode it. As soon as I bought it, I'm going to make a video of me riding that thing. I put it together and I went to the skate park and did a front side grind and got my friend to take a picture and I sent it to him. He's like, hell yeah. Like, I want to see people riding those things.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. So I want to hear about the backstory of the entrepreneurial journey, man. Like I'm sure like you went to school and you proceeded to get your medical doctor degree and all that with the intention of making your 6-figure income. And, what was that journey like? And then what did you discover when you got there?
Yeah. So, I graduated from my residency in 2016. So really a decade ago, almost to the date, quite honestly. And when I graduated, I went straight to work at California Department of Corrections, a prison system, and I was on the general population yard, which is the baddest of the bad boys, the guys who actually did some criminal shit instead of, smoking pot or stuff like that were thrown in California prisons for. And I thought it was going to be a phenomenal job. I loved it because you gave respect, you got respect, period. It was mutually beneficial when it came to that. At the same time, it was a government job. So I thought this was going to be the greatest job ever, working quote unquote 40 hours a week, which really meant working about 7 hours of real work. And the rest of the time you're just kind of effing off doing nothing.
Waiting for the next thing. Huh?
just waiting. And, you got paid really well. And I thought, I'm going to stay here for 20 years. I'll graduate or I'll retire when I'm 40 years old with a first pension. I'll go work for someone else for another 20 years, graduate, leave that job at 60. I'll have a double pension by the time I'm 60 and I'll just ride off into the sunset. And the problem was getting into it after a while, it just wasn't challenging. It was one of those, well, there's got to be something else. You get into a field where the end is the end. Like, I'm a doctor now. I have a degree. I make 6 figures easily in any job. And that's it. There was no, okay, well, your next challenge is, or the next level is.
It's cruise control for 45 years.
And all of your colleagues are the same way. And it just killed me inside because I like competition. I like to grow. And it was just, this was just it. I sat around and looked around. I was like, this is it. This is everything. I had a nice, quote unquote, nice house, 3-bedroom, 3-bath house in Palm Springs. I think it was 1,647 square feet. It was just my wife and I. So, and a little dog. So it was big enough, and a tiny little pool in the front yard, which is the size of a spa, and view of the mountains and 2 paid off cars. And it was like, oh, cool. Well, we're living the American dream. We're in it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is it. That's
Just
it.
Checking all the boxes off and everybody's telling you you're crushing it. And
you're
not feeling that way. Like you're still hungry for more. And it's not because you're lack of effort. It's just, like you said, there's no goals. Like, what are you going to go get a PhD of doctor? I mean, you're done with education, like you gone the farthest you could go.
Yep. And I already got my MBA during my residency because I was bored at the time. So I had my
Oh,
MBA, so I couldn't get a higher there was no higher
there's
degree
nothing
than
else.
that. There's
Yeah.
nothing else. So, I started to get really bored and I just
Mhm.
started to realize like this is not for me. I can't sit here and do this job forever. I will, you wonder why our field in general has the highest suicide rate. It's
Mhm.
because everybody's telling you you're doing a great job, your life is awesome, and you look around and there's no one like there's nothing to live for at that point. You're not challenged to do better. You're not
Mhm.
challenged to grow more. And I couldn't do that. And so I ended up starting listening to different podcasts, and I found the MFCEO Project podcast, of which we're both part of the Arete
Mhm.
Syndicate. And that was through my wife, who wanted to do a bodybuilding competition. And I had done bodybuilding competitions before, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to find the best coach and take the best supplements. So
Mhm.
found a good coach, and then I ended up researching and found First Form, through which I found Andy and his podcast. Started listening to it, which was all about business, as you know.
Mhm.
And that's when I started to say, okay, I can understand this guy, see where he's coming from, and he really inspired me to think like, okay, start to build your own business, do your own thing. I grew up in a house. My dad is a contractor. He owns his own business and has the entire time. We have a deep loathing for any type of authority. So he was never an employable character. If you
Yeah.
still meet him now, he's completely unemployable. And I started to become that as I went through this government job, and it was like, you know what? The worst thing I can do is fail here if I left and tried to build something on my own. And my wife and I convinced her to move out of our Palm Springs home. I convinced her to rent that while we were saving every dime that we absolutely could. I convinced her to move into the front foyer of a 5-bedroom house where the 5 bedrooms were already rented. So we just lived in the front foyer with plywood walls. Got 8.5 by 10 sheets of plywood and put them up as our walls. Bed on the floor and all of our stuff in garage or in garbage bags around.
Yeah.
And we went to work, both of us, every single day. She worked as a server. I worked, as a physician and as a resident, rented out the home and saved every dollar we could to build a business. And about a year and a half into that, that's when Andy launched the Arete Syndicate, and we had
Mm.
saved a little over $100,000 at that time. And I sat my wife down and I was like, look, you know, I want to join this group. It's a mastermind group. She had never heard of a mastermind, and it was the first mastermind that I was ever going to be a part of.
Mhm.
You don't know the two guys who run it, but they say that they're going to help me build the business.
They're really good on podcasts, though. They're really good on
They're
podcasts.
really good on podcasts. Like they're really good at interviewing and getting you
They've
pumped up.
got muscles, damn it.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna make anything out of this, but I promise something's gonna happen, and something's
Yeah.
telling me to do this. 100%, something is telling me I need to do this. And she said yes. So I dropped half of our life savings, 50K, on that,
Mhm.
and I got in there. And as you know, I did not know anything. I didn't have a business. I wasn't running anything. I wasn't successful by any means. I was probably, actually, definitely the least successful person
Hmm.
on paper than anyone else in there. I mean,
Yeah.
not degree wise, because I had the most degrees, which were useless, as you and I know, when it comes to actually making money. You can't go turn your MD degree in and people just hand you money. That's not how it works when you're trying to build
Oh.
a
Hey,
business.
man, I'd love to cash in on my engineering degree if they'll buy it back. I'd take all
Dude,
that money back.
I wish, right? On my MBA, I would definitely take
Yeah.
sixty
I
thousand
get can I
dollars.
get a refund? I mean, I won't claim I have this anymore. I just won't use it
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
Can I get that back?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, got in there and ended up meeting my now business partner, Brent Messer.
Mhm.
Through that, we ended up working together, and we started Genesis Lifestyle Medicine, our first location, August 1st of 2019.
Oh, wow. That was right in the heat of all that.
In the heat of it. Yep, right in the
Mhm.
heat, just before, in the middle of Arete Syndicate year 1 and year 2. And since then, we've grown the brick and mortars, and we started to reach into simply other verticals of our business, and whether that's manufacturing or
Yeah.
whether that's, the peptide world and servicing that, et cetera. That's what we've been doing from then.
You talked a lot about the wife and her approval and support of everything that you did, and I don't wanna undervalue that because I've had the same lifestyle with my wife as
Right.
well. You know that.
No, absolutely. I see that.
Let's spend some time on that. I think that
Let's
some
do it.
people need some help with that. Like
No, I agree.
the entrepreneurs out there that are single, because if you're married right now and you're married to the wrong person, you know how to solve that. But
Yeah.
if you're single and you're looking for the right person, what are the things that gave you the clue that she was the right one?
Ooh, look, I think from my point of view, the things that gave me the clue that she was the right one was her willingness to help and to support when I didn't have anything to give,
Mm,
number 1, and her willingness to be open to letting me try.
yeah.
So, some people will say, "Well, my spouse, she doesn't support me." And it's like, you haven't done anything to prove that she should support you at all.
Hmm.
And so, she was willing, my wife, Steph, she was willing to let me try. At the same time, I was willing to make sure that I didn't fail.
Right.
So, yes, we both moved out of the Palm Springs house, but I didn't go take the money that we were saving and go spend it on car parts, which I would love to do, or, new
Yeah.
clothing,
Hmm.
or, a Rolex so I could flex. No, she saw that we spent none of that money other than our rent and food. And I would eat like at the hospital as much as possible. And we would eat at the hospital. I would invite her to like dinner and Thanksgiving at the hospital because it was free with my
Mm,
residency. And she saw that. And then she saw that when we started to build the business, again, every extra dollar didn't go towards living a more lavish lifestyle or anything. It went into the business and repeating the wins. And I think it's a huge leap of faith that let me know, okay, she's in it for the long haul.
right.
But at the same time, I delivered on my end on the promises that I made to her that I was going to take care of this. Like, help me out and let's go through this, but I'm going to take care of this as we go for sure.
Dude, that's the key. Being able to do what you say. And I think I'm going to speak to the men directly here because a lot of men bellyache and use the same excuse that you just talked about. Like, oh, my wife won't let me do it. My wife won't let me spend the money. It's because you've only delivered a inconsistent background. You've never completed anything you started. You half-ass everything. You waste money. If you're always giving half-ass results, that's what they're going to expect from you whenever you ask for the next thing to get into. And unless you can demonstrate those results, I don't expect anyone to support you. Even if you're married to them, like how could they, right? My
Absolutely.
wife is the same way. It's like when we met, my first company was only 6 months in. I wasn't making any money at the time,
Mm,
right? She knew I had a steady job in oil and gas, and that was good, and neither of us grew up with money. I think core values, like you and I are big on that. That was a
100.
big factor. We were raised very similar, same core values, same belief systems, same work ethic. Those are things that matter, and there was a lot of times I had to bet on myself, and she would always say, "Okay, I know you're going to do it. Like you always do what you say you're going to do." And even what I'm doing now, like leaving corporate, big salary, all that, like she's like, "Yeah, no, you'll figure it out."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Like you delivered on that and you showed what you can do. And I think a big part of contention, and this has actually been proven, is that a big part of contention and divorce and arguments in general are centered around money. And if your wife has to ask you, what are you going to do with this money, or she questions you when you're going to do something,
Mhm.
then it's not a her problem. A lot of times that's a you problem because you haven't shown that you've made decisions that make sense with your money. Like
Right.
I buy cars all the time now randomly, and
Mhm.
she just says, "Okay, where are you going to put it?" That's usually her only question.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like it's not about, well, where's the money or where's it? And at the beginning, look, guys, at the beginning, yes, it was. There were some
Mhm.
conversations of, okay, how are we going to spend on this? Are the kids going to be well taken care of? We want to make sure we have this and that, and make sure that we can pay our rent and pay the houses, and we're taken care of if you die, because those are all conversations you have to have with your
Yeah.
significant other and with your spouse if you want them to trust you. But at the same time, now she trusts me to do whatever I want. She trusts me if we're going to build another trust or another business that
Mhm.
she has to sign off on because it's Texas and everybody has,
The
the
community property, yeah.
community property, that she's just like, okay, what am I signing? It's like,
Mhm.
this is the new LLC for a new company. Okay. Signs it. No questions asked because I've built up that trust, and
Mhm.
it's set up now to where she doesn't have to worry and the kids don't have to worry.
You also mentioned about having that tough question of looking at your savings account and deciding to join a mastermind or invest in coaching. And I know that you've been in different programs.
Yeah.
That's a big conversation for people. And, to give you guys some backstory on the investment level, he touched on it. 50,000 was kind of like the buy-in to get into that group, but then you're going to end up spending 100 grand once you do all the events and travel and,
Mhm.
the networking opportunities that are created in something like that. So essentially it's a six-figure investment in 1 year.
Right.
And the thing about I came in at year 2. I was in the first part of Arete, what they call the accelerator initially. Got accepted the year 1, and I was like, "Damn, that's a lot of money." It was like 60 grand,
Yeah.
and it's like, "I don't know what this is going to be," and so I kinda sat that one out, and I watched what you guys were year 1 going through all the things that they were creating. I was like, "Okay, that would have been a great investment." I kinda missed out, and so year 2 came around. Now it was like 75 grand or something, and
Mhm.
prices went up and they reduced the enrollment, and so I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do that." And funny conversation about cars, right? So I told Lisa, like, year 1, I wanted to do it, but I was still kind of on the fence. Year 2, it's like, "Okay, I saw what they were gonna do. I'm definitely gonna go a step from accelerator to the syndicate." And she's like, "I don't mind doing that." She's like, "But, we don't wanna pull out a savings or retirement, so what car are you gonna sell?" And,
Mm.
I have a bunch of cars. I was like, "Man, that sucks. I hate to sell them," but, I sold the '70 Chevelle, the SS 454, which happens to be Andy's favorite car.
Oh,
I
shit.
sold my Chevelle just to be able to pay for that mastermind, and, I
Wow.
have 0 regrets. I missed the car,
Yeah.
but I have 0 regrets spending $100,000 on that group, the Arete Syndicate.
Dude, I never knew that. That's such a huge jump. Like,
Mhm.
and again, like, that's one thing that real entrepreneurs understand that will never make fun of each other for, guys,
Mhm.
people that are listening. If you have to go and live in a shoebox and give up everything you own, worldly possessions, sell everything you own because you want to put it into a new business, entrepreneurs will get that. Like, we're not
Yeah.
going to go burning you down. Oh, you can't afford your car. Like, no, I just have a different investment that's going to be worth more money when I do that. I didn't know you gave up your Chevelle to do that. That's huge.
Yeah, and, the reason you think about this is, like, over the years playing out, you and I have both earned millions of dollars because of that investment.
Yeah, yeah,
Just that one investment and the time
absolutely.
and the work, but that's what kickstarted a lot of it.
Absolutely, 100%. For me, tens of millions. I tell,
Yeah.
and it's funny because honestly, the all of my business that were built from, I mean, all of my businesses that have been built since then, every single one of them, you can actually trace back to the fact that I just got into Arate,
That's hilarious.
because it's just
Yeah.
people that I met, extensions and
Yeah.
extensions that go all the way back to, if I did not get into Arate, if I did not spend that $50,000, I would have never had this business and this business and this business that were all, indirectly connected back to square one.
Right, and also the lessons that we learned. I think that
Oh,
the biggest part of Arete to me was the takeaway from how important the core values were and
hmm,
living by those on a daily basis, because prior to that, coming from corporate, yeah, we had core values. They were posted on the lunchroom wall, and even at Chevron, like they were painted on the wall, but nobody ever had to remember them. Nobody had to live by them. And generally speaking, most core values are written from the corporate perspective, so they're like KPIs of your business.
yep,
But the way Arte taught us was that you need to drive these core values that are things that people could adopt for personal core values that they take home when they leave the office. And
exactly.
that was a subtle shift, but it made a huge difference because then it gave us personal core values that we could use to make any decision in our life.
Yep. Still to this day, I carry my core values around with me and have my staff carry it around. I mean, I took that from
Mhm.
those guys and made our core value cards, and it's huge. It is absolutely huge. And even when we went and sat in front of private equity during our process last year,
Mhm.
they asked, "How is our culture? How is our core values? What did we believe in?" That was a big part for them because they wanted to know that if they were going to acquire us and if a deal was going to happen,
Mhm.
everybody wasn't just going to walk out the door.
Right. Yeah, very important. So going back to 2019, you guys meet up in the group, you start to launch the first location.
Yep.
Probably initially you're investing way more than you're cash flowing.
Yep.
kind of wondering if you got into this at the right time and
We
all these
almost
doubts? What
we
was that
almost
like?
bankrupted our business the second or third month in our business. We
You
almost
went bankrupt and had to borrow your own
had to
money?
borrow our own money from the savings because essentially we told the marketing team to market for us, and then we didn't tell them like a budget that they had to spend.
Oh,
So
no.
they were just like, "Whatever," and I didn't know how to do that. So
These guys are doctors. They got money.
they spent like $42,000 over the course of, I believe it was 48 days.
Holy crap.
They spent that much money, and we didn't obviously the it was you're driving these clients in, so it's not like you get a client and you sell 48 people or 42 people.
Yeah.
You don't, like, you get a client in, you got to woo them, and maybe 2, 3, 6 months down the line they buy something. I didn't understand any of that cycle, that cash cycle.
Mhm.
So we spent $42,000 and the bank account had like 12 in it.
Nice.
And we
Nice.
started really small. We did start with, two offices that we rented inside a chiropractic office.
Mm.
And we had our dual names on the door, the chiropractor who had been there since the 1980s and our name. We pulled up, I ripped up all the carpet by hand and laid all the floor by hand to give them some, we paid our own TI in the office that we went
Yeah.
to, tenant improvement, so it would look a little bit better. All the walls were the old school yellow carpet
Mm.
from the 1980s, countertops that were that puke brown color. So we pulled up the carpet, we did the flooring ourselves for $2,800. We bought white paint and painted all the walls white, and then we got an old piece of quartz countertop from a bathroom that was left over and had it cut to the front, just enough to be a rectangle that kind of covered the front brown
Yeah.
part. And that was our first office that we made really nice. It kept
Dude,
our
I love that story. That's
oh,
like very scrapper like.
dude, kept our old I IKEA furniture and
Yep.
old furniture that people were throwing away on the side of the road. We're just like, "Huh, that looks kind of nice, actually. We'll grab that table. We could use that
Throw
table."
some fake plants in the background.
Exactly. So went to Ross and went to Goodwill and fake plants and whatever little gold duck trinkets, make it look
Yeah.
nice because it's gold. It's people think it's got to be nice. Use that, and that's
You
kind of
probably
how.
you probably had one wall in that office that was like the presenter wall, like it had
Yeah,
the logo and
yeah, that's it. When you
you did
walk
all the
straight in,
marking in front of that one wall.
yeah, when you walk straight in, we had that one wall that had the Genesis logo that cost us like $135 from fast signs down the street, and with
Mhm.
double-sided tape, just stickied it to the wall, and essentially lived as lean as we possibly could. My first employee actually moved with me and my wife to Nevada, and she lived with us for 6 months when we were starting the company, because I had to pay her, and we couldn't, she couldn't afford rent at the same time. So it's just like, okay, just live with us for 6 months. We'll figure it out while we were building this.
Dude, I love that story. That's very, very scrapper like. And it's important because I think one of the biggest mistakes that new entrepreneurs make is they try to get way too fancy way too soon. They
Right.
want way more square footage than they need. They're buying fancy furniture. They're buying the top of the line computer and hardware and all these different things. And they're trying to act the part, but they don't have any cash flow coming in.
Yeah. Now, especially in the medical field, people will spend $500,000 to $1 million on a
Oh,
full build out with marble floors and gold sconces and the fresh look. And honestly, guys, I was lucky because one of my mentors in the medical field, I walked into his office before we had opened ours just to see how a medical clinic was ran,
mhm.
and he had old school commercial carpet. He had, those old school blinds, the commercial blinds that were actually the rope blinds, because I
Mhm.
feel like people have shutters now and fancy electric blinds. No, he had the old school rope blinds with the metal, like clank, 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 clank when you open it and
Yep.
shut it. Uh,
Couple more bent and crooked and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
bent at
Yeah.
the end for sure. Like you could push him down and look out
Yep.
the window actually. So he had that, and it wasn't super lit, but he provided a phenomenal service. And guess what? The lobby was filled with people every time I went there. And so he helped me see. And now I tell others, you're absolutely right. You don't need all the fancy stuff. You don't
Yeah.
need to go $1 million right out of the gate. You need one room that you rent, maybe in somebody else's studio or somebody else's thing, so you can walk away quickly, and you set it up, you're good to go. You start
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah, even outside of the medical space, like I deal with a lot of manufacturers and things like that, and
Mm,
the the tendency is that they want to go buy all these fancy equipment and machines, even if they're not using them. Like you may have one or two employees initially, so why do you got 10 machines in here? Like you can't even operate more than two.
right.
And it seems to be a lot of the guys will buy things that they like to have instead of what they need to have. And so when I come in and I fix their business, I'm like, "Do you need this? Can you still farm that part, whatever that machine makes? Can you buy that from somebody else that has that machine? And
Right.
yeah, how much? Let's do some numbers. Like, what are we really saving by owning that machine and having to make payments on that machine versus what we can do just buying things?" And you start to look at things through that lens. You realize, like, yeah, I just always wanted one of those, and now I got this bill, and it's just sitting there collecting dust because I don't have an operator.
Yep.
And so you see this a lot in different business models. So I like the idea of you talking about, you know, renting out one room inside of a clinic. I mean, hell, you got foot traffic. There's people there for the same stuff, or
Right.
maybe a competitive thing that's not even in there. And like maybe it's like a women's healthcare salon,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, we do Botox and things like that over here. And like, oh, well, we're already here, you
Yep,
know?
exactly. You can rent a room in those almost they're not called WeWorks specifically, but they're large
Co-working. Yeah.
co-working spaces where
Yeah.
people will have a cosmetologist and then a massage therapist, and then I know clinics in there that have one room Botox filler clinic, and you could trade clients back and forth, and that was a good thing. We don't do any chiropractic work and never have, so we
Mhm.
were in a chiropractic office, people having back issues and joint issues and etc., and we did stem cells at the time, and then it went away and now it's back again so we could do it again. But during that time, it was easy to trade clients back and forth and talk
Yeah.
about that between people.
So how long until it started to be like a really positive, steady cash flow business, that one location?
Ooh, that one location became positive after probably, I would say, 6 months.
Okay.
6 months, it became positive, steady cash flow. From there, we ended up starting to really populate our we built our second clinic in Las Vegas. We had built some other clinics and acquired some other clinics in Colorado and
Mhm.
Nashville, and then we started to grow really quickly. We went from 0 to 7 figures in uh, 10 11 months, and 7 figures to 8 figures in another 6 months after that,
Mm.
just from acquisition and from building de novo locations. So that was about 3 years in, though, before I took a real paycheck or really got
Wow.
paid any sort of dividends from it. Every
Yeah.
single dollar that we had, we paid our essentially mortgage and food,
Staff.
and
Yeah.
everything else went really back into the business and pouring back into the company at that time, whether it was a new clinic acquisition, a new machine, more marketing, etc. So I
Mm.
didn't get it took me 3 years to replace my paycheck that I had from the uh, prison system
Mhm.
and the urgent care. So both those combined, it took me 3 years to replace that.
So you're also leaning into the fact that I think that delayed gratification pays dividends.
Yep.
Too many people, it kind of touches what people are buying things that they like to have instead of they need to have. And people, it's easy to watch like your social media and seeing the fancy cars now in the house, and same way with the stuff that I've been creating for a long time as well.
Yep.
And people think it's easy and like that we just, stumbled upon that and just figured it out all of a sudden. It was instant, you know. And I always tell people like, dude, this is 20 something years of work.
Overnight
This is
success.
not, yeah,
20 years over.
this is not a, and especially with like I see younger entrepreneurs are really hard on themselves, like guys in their 30s and
Yeah.
20s even. They're like, oh, I don't have all that yet. And it's like, don't compare yourself to someone that's 20 years ahead of you. Like you got to
Yeah.
be realistic. Like in 20 years, if you're on this pace, you're going to be crushing it. You know?
Absolutely. That if you're a young entrepreneur, look, the best advice that I can give you is if you live below your means, later on you're going to be able to elevate your dreams. And that's exactly what Tony's saying here is every dollar that we got, we spent it back into making the business bigger, into
Mhm.
making more money. And then there was just a time where the business tipped into, okay, well, we almost can't spend all the money back and push it back into the business, because if we tried, we just wouldn't be able to keep up
Right.
with all the different initiatives. We don't have enough people to run all the different initiatives or all the different machines. Like you said, you got 20 machines, we don't have 6 people in a clinic. Well, I can't go hire 15 more people and have good culture and have them running 15 new machines. Like, you just can't spend that money, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
So there will be a time where you'll have to take money off the table. You'll
Hmm.
have to wait until the business starts to evolve, and you can't speed up time with money. So I think you're 100% right with that. Is, guys, like, I'm 40 years old and I have business partners. I mean, look at Hormozy. He's 35, 36 now,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? And but then you look at Andy, and Andy's 47, and he talks about being all he was 38 really when my business started to take off. He was my age when First Form really started to explode, and then
Right.
became, like, 2 years later, a billion-dollar company when he was around 40 to 42 years old. And he
Hmm.
talks about that. And but again, he's 47, he's been doing it 20, almost 30 years,
Yeah.
really, in his case. I've been doing this for 7, 8, and the guy
Hmm.
behind me has been doing it for 2 to 3. I had someone message me the other day, "Hey, man, like, my business is growing, but I just don't feel like, it's really there like you guys are, like yours is." It was like, "Okay, well, when did you start?" He's like, early 2024. Like, bro, fucking 2 years, like a year
Your
and a
freshman year, brother.
You've been doing this a year and a half, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you're already there, that's great. Like, you're 23 years old, that's crazy, man. By the time you're 30, you're gonna be able to do all the stuff that we're doing in our 40s and
Yeah.
50s at this point.
Yeah. I spoke at the automotive HPX conference 2 weeks ago, and a younger entrepreneur came up to me. He was 18. He was
Oh,
sharp,
jeez.
guys.
18.
18, right?
Phew, phew.
And he was telling me, I liked what you said, and he was asking me some good questions, and I'll give him some props though. He said, I'm busy all the time. I'm working my job. I'm trying to do this, and he drives a race car driver, right? And he's trying to get a
Oh,
team and all this.
awesome.
And
That's an expensive sport.
out of all the people, like, because I know you're the same way, when people say I don't have time, my response as an executive coach is, show me your calendar.
Right.
Pull out your phone, show me you have no time. Like, I want to see proof that you don't have any time. He actually had one. He showed it to
Mm,
me and it was
wow.
full. I was like, dude, you are so far ahead just from that one thing. I was like, you're the only one I've ever had produce a real calendar that said they didn't have time.
Dude, that's crazy.
It was amazing. I was like, you're 18, man. It's like, I know you hate hearing like you got to you be patient, but you're 18, dude. Like, by the time you're 25, you're gonna be crushing it. 30, you're gonna be way ahead of everybody else.
Seriously.
so, so what did you learn through acquisition? Because I love hearing the scaling through
Yeah,
acquisition. I think it's one of the things that most people just don't understand. What did you
absolutely.
learn?
Oh, biggest lesson that I would say a couple different lessons. One of the biggest lessons that I learned is that no matter what, it's going to be a headache.
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah, there's no passive income bullshit here.
There's zero passive income. There's zero acquisition and everything that goes great. There's zero 100% of the staff that worked for that person is going to work for you. None of it is going to happen. And
Mm,
so when we did acquire, we learned that, one, core values were a massive thing. And they weren't only a massive thing, but never buy a business if they don't have core values, number one, and never buy a business if those core values are also not close to your core values. They have to be.
they have to be.
Because again, it's you have if they don't have core values, then they have zero culture. And if you try and drive culture into a company that has zero culture, they're all
Mm,
gonna leave.
yeah,
And
because
so,
they were conditioned to work in a non-culture free for all.
yeah, literally the monkeys running the zoo, they could do whatever they want, whenever they wanted. They have
Yeah,
zero,
part timers.
yeah, zero, like, this is how it's gonna be set up, etc. And they will walk out the door, number one.
I believe that. Yeah.
And number two, if you do have core values, they got to be close enough to yours, because if you're going to transition into talking about your culture and how you do things, they're inevitably going to say, well, we don't do things that way, or that's not what it means to us. So you need to be able to speak that language into the teams
Hmm.
and make sure that they understand, well, when they're joining you in your culture, that yes, this is how you do things, but it's no different than what you've been doing things here. It's just the end result's the same. Maybe the pathway along that is different.
Mhm.
And I will tell you that when you first acquire companies, it is best to just sit back. And Brent and I would sit back, have our core values, but then let them do their thing and see what they do for 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
The reason why is that if you go in there and you try and change everything, again, people do not like change. Any
No.
type of worker doesn't like change, and they don't like being told what to do. But if you watch and observe, and then at the same time, over time, you start to see what suggestions are the ones that you really want to die on hill
Mhm.
wise, and which ones that are like, meh, I don't really care if you wear that different color shoe. In the end, it's not going to make a huge difference versus, hey, you really got to order the medication this way because that's a really important thing that we need to do.
I like those examples. I like the sitting back because, having gone through acquisitions and also helping clients do that, that is one of the biggest thing is trying to eliminate this initial skepticism
Right.
because they are very skeptical about if they're going to have a job in a month and,
Yeah.
they're going to put some new executive or new GM in place. He's going to be an ass and then scare everybody out of there. And those are real things. And people are concerned about that kind of situation. So, even when I sold my first company, I was kind of concerned about the same things. Like, are
Yeah.
you guys going to treat my staff the right way, and are you going to run it the same way that I ran it? And I like that you had that observation period because then you get to see the good things that maybe were outside of your blind spots.
Absolutely, and a great aspect of that is when we would announce, or when the owner who was selling would announce that there was going to be a change of hand and we were acquiring their company or their clinic,
Mhm.
Brent and I would either, if the worst case scenario, we would be on a Zoom while they announced it so that we could answer questions.
Mhm.
Most of the time, one of us, if not both of us, were sitting there in the office while they said it to the whole staff so that we let it sink in. And then we literally the schedule would be blocked off for 2, 3, 4 hours. And they would be allowed to pepper us with all their questions, and nothing was off limits so that they could see who we were, what we were about, what was going to happen, if there was any changes that they needed to accept. Again, ask those questions because you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We're all getting fired. Dr. So and so's leaving. And 95% of the time, the doctor was staying. They just didn't
Mhm.
like all the business side of things on the backside. So they would stay. They just like being a doctor. They just like being a provider. They don't like the balancing of the books or procurement of the services or any of the back end stuff, marketing, all that stuff they have to do as a single provider owner. So we would take all that on, and then we have that presentation. Hey, you're changing the name on the door. The services stay the same. The way you treat people stays the same. As long as it's a high level of customer service and it's teamwork, then we're not going to touch what you're doing here.
Right. I was having a conversation last week with a very large private equity in the automotive space, and we were kind of talking about what they were looking for because I work as a broker sometimes with those
Oh,
deals.
okay. Yeah.
And he shared one tip that I didn't realize in this conversation. I want to get your take on it. He
Mm,
said initially, the last few years when they were acquiring smaller brands, they were really more interested in moving the owner out of that business within 1 to 2 years max, transition phase.
yep.
Some of those actually didn't pan out because of that. Some of them did really well with their infusion of cash, consolidated systems, and such.
Hmm.
But now the shift is that the private equity, because he's how they all run in circles. They have conversations. He said they're actually looking more for businesses where the owner actually wants to stay on and be the owner operator, just with the infusion of cash and consolidated services.
Yeah.
And he says that they've seen a much higher success rate when the owner stays on. So now they're looking for people that actually don't want to leave and don't want to retire and have some runway still left in their tank. What's your take on that?
No, I agree with you. So, for those that don't know Genesis, we as a group went through a exit. We were going, well, it was a attempted exit. So we went to sale late 2024, ended up actually pulling out mid 2025. Uh, Trump, tariffs, banks getting locked up, them trying to repeat COVID-2, World
Mhm.
War III, all of it at the same time became the best time to and then pharmaceuticals and
Oh
big
yeah, there was a lot of
pharma. There was
skepticism and
skepticism and
politics,
fight and politics,
big
and
pharma.
it went from the worst. It went from the best time to the worst time to sell our type of business, and we
Mm,
ended up getting like a 10x offer, but it just the math didn't make sense, and it was like, now we're going to step away from this. But I will say, in all those conversations, you're absolutely right. They asked Brent and I, so what do you, where do you envision yourself doing after this sale? And more and more, these companies are looking for founder-led content, founder-led businesses, because they bought all those businesses in the past where they had the founder who, again, painted a vision, was the war general, did everything, got people hyped up, and then
mhm.
that person walks out the door, and they're usually replaced with someone who isn't the same. Because
Yep.
again, I've talked to these PE guys, and they're very level-headed.
Mhm.
They've
They're
worked in
very risk averse. They like
risk
data.
risk averse. It's all data, not
Yeah.
people. And as a result of that, they start to lose the people, they start to lose the culture, and they walk out the door. You know,
Mhm.
our conversations, every single one of our conversations, they expected us to stay on through the second bite of the apple, they call it, or the
Yep.
second sale. And they were only buying 60, between 57 to 68% of us,
Mhm.
and then we were retaining equity and expected to obviously stay on for that equity through the second sale, 4 to 5 years later, and driving the culture, driving the growth, at least being chairman of the board if we were going to stay around and not be a CEO or COO or any of those executive positions. They really want that now. And I think most businesses want that now, because they want to ensure that, hey, you're not in, if you're selling a business big enough, you're signing a non-compete agreement for 5 to 10 years in
Easy.
all of the United States,
Easy.
easily.
You know,
And
and some people hear that and they go, "Oh, well, my state's a non-compete city." Guys, I'm in Texas just like Alex,
yeah,
and it's a right to work state, and most non-competes don't hold their weight in water, but you know what? Lawsuits still cost you money,
oh, a
and
lot of money.
when you go do it, they're still gonna sue you for $1,000,000 or more, and you're gonna have to defend yourself. You're gonna spend $500,000 defending yourself, even though you know you're gonna be innocent and it's gonna get thrown out. They're gonna make you spend money, so they
It's
can
going to get
still get
dragged
you.
out for 2 years.
Right, and they'll file it in a different state and make you travel. Like, yes, your state may protect you, but I'm just letting you know that's what we call corporate bullying. I've
Yep.
experienced it. My friends have experienced it. So you just don't play those games. Don't think like, well, I'll just start another clinic, a month after I leave.
Yeah. It doesn't work like that, guys. Just whatever your non-compete is, go do something that is maybe in the medical field. If it was for me in the medical field, that you
Mhm.
didn't provide that service in, Genesis sort of things,
Got to be a
because
very clear delineation.
clear
Yeah.
delineation on that, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, they will go after you. Don't be thinking that. But again, I wanted to stay on. I'm 40
Yes.
years old. I can stay through. You know, if you're good at something, and I know the entrepreneur world out there is, the entrepreneurs have to have 7 different streams of
Oh,
income,
damn. That's
and
a whole show on its own
talk
right
about
there.
that. It's just it's so much bullshit. And people ask, well, what else do you invest in? What else do you do? If it doesn't have to do with a medical company, or a company that my medical companies buy from, then I don't do it, because I don't know how to do it. And I'm not going to go and compete in the auto parts world with Tony, who's been in it for 20 something, 30 something years. I don't even know how long. Start at year one and try and think that with any amount of money, I'm going to be able to catch 20 to 30 amounts, 20 to 30 years worth of education, guys. Like, if you're really good in a field, stay in that field and just grow all the verticals and all the ways to make money in that field, period. And don't talk to me about how you can't make money in your field. Every field, there is the guy who has made 50 to $100 million plus in your field.
Mhm.
You just got to find out how to do that.
Yeah, and be patient. Kinda
Yep.
going back to what we talked about earlier. It's gonna take years. Like, we
Ah,
think in decades. I don't think in years
yeah,
anymore. It's decades,
absolutely. Yeah, you
you
turn
know?
40 and you start to think, I'm half dead, so I got 4 decades left. Let's figure this out.
Yeah, I think the 40s was really fun for me. I'm 53. looking back in my 40s was very a retrospective decade of my life.
Okay.
That's when you start to look back on the things that you've done and what you could have done better. And
Mm,
because we're on that self improvement journey, both of us, right?
yep.
But as we're improving, we start to look back on, yeah, I've sacrificed a lot of this stuff to go make money and this, that, and family and health. And you start to realize, like, no, I could have learned from that. I can do better this time. And so
Right.
I don't have a lot of experience in my 50s, but I know that it's a little bit different decade. But I know 40s was really just more retrospective.
Well, they say your 50s and 60s are your best decades of your
That's what
life,
I hear.
and the
Yeah.
most you make the most money during those decades. So,
Yeah. It's the wisdom finally kicks in, and, hard lessons actually come to roost, right?
right, exactly.
Give us an idea of what services Genesis provides.
Yeah, so Genesis has 5 pillars. We have a weight loss pillar, a hormone therapy pillar, a sexual health pillar, a aesthetics pillar, and then a
Mhm.
generalized overall wellness pillar. So we do everything from your weight loss medications you've seen, GLP-1s, tirzepatide, and semaglutide, and we don't do Retta yet because it's not allowed, but we'll
I
get
don't
into
even know what that is, but yeah,
so Retta, which is the newest drug, phenomenal
the
drug,
newest.
newest of the newest. And for those listening, guys, there's going to be a new weight loss drug every year for the next 8 years. Like we know they're already there. They're in their second and third rounds of FDA trials.
Okay.
They're going to be releasing them every year, and it's going to be a new one every single year that's better than the year before. That
Mhm.
age of thinking in the past where it's like, well, I'll just take a pill and I'll grow muscle and shred fat. I mean, we're probably 5 years away from that.
Mm.
So that being said, we do that weight loss. We do hormone therapy balancing because, as most entrepreneurs know, and they start to talk about it, we get exhausted, we get tired, we have kids, we blame it on the kids, and most people blame it on midlife crisis. So midlife crisis is usually just hormone imbalance.
Mm.
So instead of being on Abilify or any of these anti-anxiolytics, you get your hormones checked and you balance it. Usually, that helps a significant amount in being able to sleep better, being able to have better sex, being able to concentrate during the day and not be foggy. So we really focus on hormones. Sexual health, look, we all love to have sex. You should not have less desire as you get older. That's a big
Mhm.
thing we fight. So teaching people about that. And then just general aesthetics because we want people to feel good on the inside and also look good on the outside. So we'll do things like hair transplants that I have been
Yeah.
a recipient of. I was pre Elon Musk a few, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You were like your own guinea pig. It was
I
great.
was. We did our first hair transplant on myself just to make
Yeah.
sure that we figured it out.
You didn't want to mess somebody else up.
Didn't want to miss out. I was like, if I'm going to
Like
miss,
I'll gamble my mug, but
yeah,
no one
it's going to
else.
be me. I'm already ugly. We'll just see how this goes.
That's good shit.
So wanted to make sure that so we do that, and then general wellness, which is more your overall IV therapies, your immune boosters, and then peptides that I think has become more mainstream nowadays over the past really 2, 3 years.
Oh man, we're dipping into the guru space
Yeah,
here,
let's
right? Because we're crossing from medical to guru
yes,
subject. I wanted you to come in here because your expertise on these things.
yep. This is what
You
I
and
do.
I both see the peptides thing becoming kind of like the next guru, get
Yep,
rich quick MLM bullshit type stuff.
yep.
I know they can work, but what's the truth, man?
Yeah. So the truth is, from an overall standpoint, peptides are just amino acids. So you know how you take your branch chain amino acids, B, C,
Mhm,
double A's, and you can take a scoop of it and put it in your water.
mhm.
Peptides are the same. They're amino acids that are put together in a specific chain, and then those amino acids or that chain triggers or turns on a switch in your body.
Okay.
And that switch could be for a whole bunch of different things. So there could be a switch for melatonin. That's one of the peptides. That one increases the melanin in your skin and makes you tan.
What?
Yep. There
It
could be.
works.
Oh, it works 100%. I have seen your white Mormon that looks darker than
Glows in the dark.
look darker than a Nigerian from it. It
What?
really it works. It works.
Wow.
It seems weird. It looks really weird when somebody does that, and that's the
Yeah.
extreme. But yeah, it will increase your tanning ability.
Hmm.
Peptides like BPC 157, which is the natural Tylenol, increases your inflammatory, de-inflammatory markers. You
Okay.
have things like growth hormone analogs that instead of taking growth hormone, it will increase your body's ability to produce growth hormone.
So would
Now,
that be more like on a steroid type reaction
no,
or?
no, not really, because the pathway is the steroid pathway. So if you're increasing growth hormone or
Mhm,
testosterone, which is a steroid in your body,
mhm.
you're not, again, these are, again, just amino acids. It's just like you're just flicking on a switch.
Yeah.
You're not taking anything that is anabolic like a steroid would.
Right.
So they are much safer, but at the same time, they are a lot of them sometimes untested. And the issue just in the United States in general is these used to be able to be compounded. Many of them used to be able to be compounded, which is the way you make it. So compounding, guys, for those who don't know,
It's
is
like
just
laboratory.
essentially taking, like in a lab, the powders and some fluids and mixing them together and making sure that you can ingest it in a pill or inject it or absorb it with a cream. That's what compounding is. And
Okay.
every medication on earth is made through compounding. Everyone,
Mhm.
whether it's from a big pharmaceutical player or a small compounding
Just
pharmacy,
it's a recipe, it's a formula pushed
it's a
into
recipe.
a commercial product form.
Exactly,
Okay.
100%. And so there were a lot of these peptides that were legal to make, were legal to produce, and they got recategorized in by the FDA. And when the FDA does that, they say essentially, well, these don't have enough research to be deemed safe for human consumption. So we're going to put this on this list. And if you're doing a study on them, you have to prove you're doing a study with them. If you're not, then they're illegal to compound and they're illegal to distribute.
Okay.
Now, at the same time, you had all these companies doing what's called research chemicals, and they were importing these API, which is the powder, straight from China, or the vial straight from China, or India, or Brazil, or Central America. There are factories all over the world
Mhm.
where people are importing them and essentially selling them to clients. Now, we were never doing that. And I would try and teach someone what a peptide was, and they would look at me like I have egg on my face. Just zero concept of what a peptide is, how it works, why they should be taking it, etc.
Mhm.
And the great thing was when all these gurus came out and had their failed businesses because of COVID
Well,
or
they switched from Bitcoin and Forex
yeah, they switched from
to
Bitcoin and
peptides.
Forex and, their
Yeah.
own, their gyms and their own, like, I don't know,
Essential oils.
shirt company and, essential
Yeah,
oils.
it was the next progression to
It,
get rich,
it
you
was
know?
like, I got all these clients, I might as well sell them these Chinese products. And they're labeled for research use only,
Oh, damn.
not for human consumption.
Man, that sounds kinda like 2020.
So it's pretty much, yeah, exactly like 2020. We're
Trust us, it's safe and
trust us with
effective.
the science. It's safe and effective. You just take this and don't worry about it.
Ah,
And so nowadays, it has blown up to all these people importing these medications, and these people don't realize that the medical field is one of the highest litigious,
oh, yeah.
as well as the highest like government controlled category that you can possibly be
Mhm.
in the world. You want to build a business, it's 10 times harder to build a medical business
Yeah, I believe it.
because of the legal hoops and licenses and things you have to jump through. And
Yeah.
nobody who's in this field, who's not in this field, understands this. The people in this field don't understand it. So you can imagine these people think, these gurus think, well, if I just put not for human consumption and on my, consent,
Dude,
well,
just the liability just makes my skin crawl, like, just hearing that.
yeah. So
Like, why would you sell that if you're gonna have to put that on the label?
that's what they're doing, and that's what they're teaching others to do. And at the end of the day, it's not the local board of pharmacy or the medical board that's going to get you in trouble or is getting people in trouble because, again, you don't have a license. They're not over you.
Mhm.
It's the federal government, the Department of Justice, the district attorney in your state that's literally serving people, sending them to jail, seizing all their assets, etc. Because again, anything that you put in a body that has systemic we'll say pathways, meaning I inject it or I take it orally and it spreads throughout my body, which is how anything works in
Right.
peptides, that's considered and labeled a drug.
Okay.
You importing something that is not for human use is breaking international drug importation laws. Then you distributing it is breaking drug distribution laws. And then you profiting from it and knowingly, and even if you could say, well, I'm stupid, I didn't know,
Yeah.
but you profiting from selling each one of those vials is practice of medicine without a license, which every single one of those steps is a felony or a misdemeanor at a different degree.
Mm.
And so you sell 10 vials, you broke 10 federal importation laws, 10 state laws.
And they
And
do like to multiply like that. They don't
yeah,
just get you for one
they just
case.
get you, no,
Yeah.
they get you. All they got to do
Per event or
is
something, right?
catch you.
Per incident.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then all they got to do is catch you for one, and then it turns around and you got 45
Hmm.
just ordering your first round of peptides in there, and you're not only are they clawing all that money back, but you're going to federal prison. if
So
that,
you're in that space. Are you seeing a lot of the news of them, going after people?
oh yeah, I've started to see more and more.
Hmm.
Not only I've started to see providers lose their licenses and go to jail. I mean, two providers here in Texas, a supervising physician who, again, was just signing off the charts, didn't even know where the peptides were coming from. He got 7 years in prison.
Are kidding me?
Yeah,
Wow.
for the nurse doing it.
So does that mean that there's a list of peptides that are approved, that those are the
Yeah,
ones that you sell, and the rest of them you're kind of like, hey,
100%. So anybody
okay,
who wants to know, the FDA publishes the lists on their site. It's called Category 1, Category 2, and Category 3 on the FDA bulk substances list. That's what it's called. You can just Google it. Literally, there's an FDA letter that says a list for each one. So Category 2s are all the ones that actually I see a lot of guys doing. So the only Category 1s now are GLP-1s,
hmm,
which is like your tirzepatide and semaglutide, your glutathione. You have a couple other ones like sermorelin and some older PT 141, which is for sex. There's only about 5. All
okay.
the other ones that you see, guys, Wolverine stack, glow stack,
Dude,
uh,
there's like hundreds of them, aren't there?
all of them. Well, when I studied and got my fellowship in peptidology, went through it, there was about 740 at that
Oh
time.
my gosh.
So there is a lot of peptides.
Yeah.
On the category 2 list, there's about 19 that they are looking to get back onto category 1. So, guys, RFK comes on, he gets voted in, and he says, the Biden administration illegally reclassified these on category 2. I'm going to take them off category 2 and we're going to review them. Now, everyone's saying the government is taking our access away. They're not going to allow us to have this. No, guys, the government is taking unsafe access away. They're
Hmm.
taking the research peptides away. They're putting the peptides back in the hands of compounded pharmacies, not just big pharma. Big pharma, guys, again, only patents 2, the GLP-1s
Mm. Yeah.
and the GIP GLPs. All the other peptides, guys, are not owned, operated, created by big pharmacy because they can't patent these drugs. So they're taking away the Chinese versions and the dangerous versions, and they're giving it back to true compounded pharmacies that are, again, monitored by the FDA. That's how you legally take medication in the United States, guys. That's how it's
Yeah.
always been, making sure that it's safe because the pharmacies have to follow certain rules, testing every single vial, making sure every single vial is pure, making sure that the FDA gets reported on every single vial,
Mm.
every single time. And that's what they're taking away is the illegal, well, this isn't tested, or it's
Yeah.
third party tested from some dude where this,
Dude,
report of
preach.
certificate of, bioavailability is in Chinese or is in a different language, and I can build it on my Adobe Acrobat at home, or through any AI system can rebuild documents and make them look beautiful and correct.
So, Alex, what you're telling me is that I should not trust the former ClickFunnels influencer that was selling digital marketing because they got a little bit ripped and cut and they started taking Ozempic and all these other things. It kind of give them the zombie face too,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah,
sunken
well,
eyes.
civic face, the sunken eyes. Look, guys, you shouldn't trust anyone who, if you're ordering a vial of medication from them that you're injecting into your body,
Oh, man.
one, it doesn't have a prescription tied to it, and two, it doesn't have your name on the bottle.
Mm.
Simple as that. That's
Kind
how
of,
you
kind of
order.
makes common sense. I
That's
mean,
Well, no, it's not common anymore because guys are, taking whatever they want. It doesn't have their name on it. They're just like, I don't like, I just got this from my buddy and it says Wolverine on it. Like,
holy
unless your
crap.
name's Wolverine, don't be taking crap that you have no idea where it came from, no idea who produced it, and no idea how that's going to react in your body.
Yeah.
And at the same time, again, access isn't being taken away, guys. Research use access is being taken away. All those peptides are up for reclassification back to category 1 in July.
Mm.
July 27th, I believe the meeting is to start looking at the research from these peptides and legalizing them again. And people say, well, big pharma is going to profit and compounding pharmacies are going to profit because the pricing is going to be ridiculous now. No, the pricing, I looked at the pricing of your research chemicals that you're buying, guys. The pricing from the pharmacy is going to be the same exact price.
Mm.
It's like, the fact of the matter is, pharmaceuticals might have profits of, 5x, 6x. Your research grade chemicals that you're taking, they have 40 to 50x profits.
Oh, damn. So
So
it's cheap, very cheap raw
that's
materials.
why these guys all wanted to do it. That's why all these
Yeah.
people are doing it. You buy a box of 100 vials for $100 and you're reselling it at $100 a vial.
Mm.
I mean, your profits are
Well,
freaking
that's good.
massive.
It's good to know the raw materials are so cheap because
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't take a lot to
exactly.
develop them.
It,
Yeah.
it does not take a lot, guys. So that being said, the access is going to come back and it's going to
Got it.
be legitimate. And all these guys who are big in the research world, you'll see them switch over to, legitimate compounding pharmacies. We've already had people reach out to our compounding pharmacies and
Mhm.
legitimize what they're doing, because again, it's unsafe to take a drug in a different way. And people
Got
say,
it.
well, the FDA, or, it's legal, or, I can take it. It's my body, blah, blah, blah. And I agree with that to a degree. But at the same time, I also know that heroin's bad. And there's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of people you could buy heroin from still.
Yeah. I mean,
Cocaine
it's
from
at the end
still.
of the day, like the way you're describing it sounds like it's more like a recreational drug. It got some kind of effect on you, but you know, uh, that vial
Exactly.
that you're shooting today might not be the same quality as the one you get next week.
100%.
You know,
100%. It is not consistent quality, and you don't know what's in those vials, guys.
scary. That's scary
100%.
stuff. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love hearing the truth, man. I've enjoyed the conversation, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This has been fun, catching up and hearing all the stuff that you've been putting out and seeing the content you create and the businesses are growing. And I'm proud of you and what you're doing, man.
I thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I've had great coaches like you. I watch you from afar. I know I haven't, officially worked with you, but I watch you from afar and what you do and how you coach, and I listen.
Awesome, dude. So if you have people out there listening that want to work with you or get with Genesis, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, the best way is through, Instagram or Facebook. Dr. Alex Spinoso, Spinoso. I think I'm the only one out there. So
Mhm.
Dr. Alex Spinoso on social handles. Our website is genesislifestylemedicine.com. And then if you want to work with me on the brick and mortar side, Charismetics is a mastermind I built. But if you just go to my website, has my name, Dr. Alex Spinoso, you'll be able to have a link to my medical mastermind specifically. I only teach, look, guys, don't come at me if you're a car guy and you want to learn business from me. I cannot help you. This is for medical people. Go talk to Tony on that end.
That's good. You,
That's
you
how you
stay in your specialty. See, you basically just capped up what we talked about the whole time.
100%. Stay in your lane, guys. Stay in your specialty. Focus on that, and the money will come with time.
Awesome, guys. If you got something from this episode, and I know you did, you need to share this because, especially if you got people out there that are asking you about Ozempic and all kinds of TRTs and stuff going on. And, we need experts out there that give you the right information. And It's very valuable. It may be a life and death situation if they get the wrong vial. So you guys take this serious and quit listening to all the stupid gurus selling things, trying to do the next MLM and getting rich off of things that are sounds like they're illegal. So it's a good eye-opening episode. So Alex, thanks for hanging out with us. And guys, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you, Tony.